Here's another honest review from 3 days and Tres Noches. This time I'm back in Punta Cana at the Paradisus Palma Real Golf and Spa Resort. And if you are new to my channel, 3 days and Tres Noches, I bring you honest resort reviews and travel tips and show you can have an amazing vacation in a really short amount of time. And it would mean the world to me if you would consider subscribing. So let's get right into it. And just like any resort, the Palma Real has its pros and its cons. But the first pro is that it's only 20 to 25 minutes from the airport. Now, Paradisus does not provide transportation from the airport to the resort. However, they did reach out to me ahead of time to see if I needed help setting it up, but I always use Viator, and I will put the links in the description below of the ones that I use. Now, I have to be honest because I wasn't really sure what to expect with this resort because it is a little bit older and I've seen so many different mixed reviews on it. But the first impression was amazing. As soon as I pulled up, they were there waiting for me, very friendly, greeting me with smiles, and organized. They took the luggage and immediately started to take me to the check-in area. So this is a family resort, but it has an adults-only side called the Reserve, which is where I was staying. So I am going to be doing a review on the entire resort, but at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you whether or not I think it's worth it to upgrade to Reserve. But one of the major perks is that you get a separate private check-in in the Reserve Lounge, which is newly renovated. It's beautiful. It has beach views. It does not have a separate bar right in the lounge, but they do have welcome drinks if you want and snacks. And this is where I met Samuel, and he gave me one of the best check-in experiences I think I've ever gotten at a resort. And I wish resorts would learn that first impressions really are everything and sets the tone for your entire trip. But he was friendly, high energy, engaged, and quick, which is really important after a long travel day. And I was actually really nervous because I had booked this through Expedia. Normally, I don't recommend booking through a third party, specifically because the check-in process can be chaos. But I got such a great deal, and they must work very well with Expedia because the resort was even communicating with me through the Expedia app before I even arrived. Now, I got there early, so my room was not ready yet because check-in is at 3 p.m., but I still had full access to the resort, and since I was staying in the Reserve side, I had a personal concierge. Mine was Emmanuel, and he greeted me in the check-in area, then escorted me to where I could get changed, waited for me, gave me a little tour of the resort on our way to show me what the lunch options were. But before I review the food and the drinks, which is always a hot topic, I have to show you the room that I was in, which was the Reserve Presidential Oceanfront Suite. This has 2 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, an entire living area, and it was really one of the most luxurious rooms I've ever stayed in. In fact, I'm going to do a complete separate video with a more detailed room tour, but I just want to kind of highlight some of the features here. So besides the amazing view and the outdoor space, I really did love the fact that it had 2 bedrooms. So not that I needed it for this trip, but so many people ask me for resorts that have 2 bedrooms, like if you're traveling with adult children or elderly parents or just family members where you all want to be in the same room. And they also have 2 bedroom swim-up suites, which is very difficult to find. So I'm going to put my Expedia link in the description because they do offer some amazing rates at this resort specifically for these rooms. And if you want to see what a regular Reserve Junior Suite room looks like, I'm going to put in the description a link to the Nitty Gritty Travelers room tour that they did. They gave me permission to do so because they do a great tour of that room. And while I loved almost everything about this room, there were a few nitpicky things that I really wanted to mention. One is that there are no elevators in the Reserve building. And my room was on the 3rd floor, so I didn't mind going up and down the stairs because I like the exercise, but I know it could definitely be an issue for some people, so I thought it was worth mentioning. And another nitpicky thing is that they did not have ice machines in the building. So if you wanted ice, you had to either contact your butler or dial 0 and have someone bring it to the room. And again, to see a more detailed look into the presidential suite and the Reserve rooms, just check out those links in the description. Next, let's talk about the pools at this resort because it is home to one of the largest pools at any resort in Punta Cana. Now, I found this overhead picture view of the main pool just to show you how massive it is. Again, this is a family resort with an adults-only side, so this is the shared area. Now, in this main pool area, you can really see that this is an older resort. So like I mentioned, they've done renovations over on the Reserve side, but not in the main area. So you can really see that wear and tear. The kids don't care about wear and tear, and they seem to be enjoying it just fine. This is also where the pool activities would take place, although there are not a ton of activities happening at this resort. So there's no DJ, DJs or foam parties or anything like that. This is definitely a more subdued resort. Basically, they just had water aerobics and some dance lessons throughout the day at the pool. Now, over in the adult side, there are 3 more pools. So there's 2 quiet pools. One's actually a lap pool. And then over towards the back a little bit, there's one with a swim up. Now, one weird thing with the swim up pool was that it did have its own music playing, mostly like Dominican music, but then people would bring their own speakers and blare it. And there's this like competition of the music. And in fact, a lot of resorts are banning these portable speakers now. I actually bring one as well. And it didn't really bother me. And the great thing is that you have 2 other pools to go to if you really didn't want to listen to the music. But I'm highlighting it because one thing I really liked about this resort is how laid back it was. So it's not very uptight with rules or anything like that. And the vibe is really chill. And another huge pro at this resort is that you do not have to get up early to save seats around the pool. There's plenty of seating, and the same goes for the beach. So let's talk about the beach now. And this is definitely one of the most important things to me when I go on vacation. And I absolutely love the beach here. It has beautiful white sand. The water is turquoise blue, and it's definitely more shallow here. I sometimes prefer the waves, but especially for families, it just makes the water a lot more safe. They also have barriers in the water that help prevent the seaweed. Now, the seaweed still comes up and they do clean it every single day, but I definitely think it helps because just like Cancun, Punta Cana can get a lot of seaweed, especially in the summertime. Now, this resort has 4 different sections of beach. It has the reserve adults only, the regular adults only, the family beach, and then the circle members. And again, at the end of the video, I'm going to tell you the differences between all the different areas and the benefits of upgrading. But I love the reserve side beach. Never had to fight for chairs, very comfortable seating, attentive service, and the tiki bar is right there. You can also get to the pool and the beach very easily because it's literally steps away. Now, a few complaints I heard on the other side is 1, just the regular adults only, they don't really enforce it. And 2, they have these Bali beds in the front row that you can rent that block the view of the ocean. It also has a very walkable beach. I know a lot of people look for that in a resort, and it's very safe. Now, they do have a lot of vendors, but that's just a Punta Cana thing. You're going to find that at every single resort unless you go to a more secluded area like Cap Cana. Now, let's talk about the food. I'm giving it like a 6 or a 7 out of 10, which is honestly very typical of many Punta Cana all-inclusive resorts. But I feel like they do a great job on having a lot of different options. So they have the buffets, they have a la carte, poolside grills, room service, and just places where you can get light bites. So I was only there for 2 nights and could not nearly get to all of the different options. So it might not be fair to really give a rating, but everyone I talked to kind of felt the same about the food. Now, the first night I ate in the Reserve Sante restaurant, which again, they had some good dishes. There were some not so good. The second night I ate at the Italian, which I really just didn't like overall. Lobster and snapper filled ravioli. I don't know what I was thinking, but we're gonna see. My favorite meals were actually in the main buffet. So even though I was staying at the Reserve and had access to the adults only buffet and restaurant, I really did prefer the food here. There was a lot more options and there were made to order items, and I just felt it was better. The only thing I didn't like about the buffet is they did not have any seating that was in AC. So it is an open air restaurant. In fact, quite a few areas are like this at this resort. But if you are looking to beat the heat, at least during the day, they do have a pretty cool sports bar that does serve food. And then the night restaurants definitely were better when it came to the AC. And I always love hearing from you as well. So if you've been to this resort and were able to experience more of the restaurants, please drop your feedback in the comment section below. Now, in terms of cocktails, I think they do an excellent job with this here. And since I had upgraded to the Reserve, I did have access to more top shelf liquors, which I was really happy because I'm a tequila drinker and they did have Don Julio. And even if you don't upgrade, there are bars everywhere. The main pool has a swim-up bar, there is a beach bar, and almost all of the restaurants have bars as well. And the bartenders were very knowledgeable. They could make any drink that you wanted, and they were very friendly, which leads me to the service at this resort. And I have to give it a very high rating. The people and the staff here really is what set this resort apart for me. And it stood out to me even more because after this resort, I stayed at another resort for 2 nights that was pretty close by where the service was not so friendly. And it just reminded me that the employees and the service that you get at the resort really can make or break your stay. And it really does make up for some of the downsides that the resorts might have. Now, one important note and reminder is that you are in the Dominican Republic, so you are on an island, and that means you're going to be on island time. So I didn't say the service was necessarily fast, but it definitely was friendly. And then at the end of this video, which we're almost there, I'm gonna tell you whether or not I would return to this resort. But first, the final thing I wanna review are the activities and nightlife. Now, this is one thing I saw people complaining about in the reviews, was that there was not enough activities at this resort. And I do agree with that somewhat if you are comparing it to other all-inclusive resorts. For instance, it doesn't have non-motorized water sports or volleyball in the pool. Now, I wasn't traveling with kids, but they do give you this little QR code where you can download the list of all of the activities for the day. And it did seem, especially for ages, I would say 5 to 11, they have a lot going on. They have a kids club, daily activities, but maybe for teenagers, they might get bored here. Now, at night, they don't have a nightclub, but in that center plaza, they always have something going on. So one night it was a Mark Anthony night. They had a Dominican night. Then afterwards, sometimes they do karaoke and even have a DJ in the sports bar. Now, one of my favorite activities that I've never seen at any other resort is if you are staying in the reserve side, they offer included a yoga and catamaran excursion in the morning. Now, they offer this Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and you can go as many times as you like. It starts at 8:30 in the morning and you are back by 11. And it was so well organized. They pick you right up on the beach. They give you a bagged lunch. They take you over to the island where you do yoga. It's such a beautiful morning. And then after that, you go to a natural pool for a swim. And then on the way back, there's music and dancing, and it's so much fun. And it's included. And like I said, I've never seen that before at a resort. I mean, this would normally cost at least $70 a person if you book this. And just like other all-inclusive resorts, it does have a fitness center and a spa. And this is where you can kind of tell it is an older resort. I'm sure they have plans to do updates on both. And in the spa, they have no hydrotherapy, so it's just strictly spa services. Now, it's also advertised as a golf resort, but the golf is not included unless you get a special package. Sometimes Expedia, like what I booked, they do offer some discounts on the golf. But either way, I heard that it is pretty expensive to play at the course that they partner with. Some people were also commenting on the casino because it was advertised it was on property, which it's not, but you do get access to the one on the sister property, which is just a quick shuttle ride away. So here are some of my final thoughts on this resort and whether or not I would recommend it and come back here. So for families with older kids or kids that like to have a lot of activities, it might not be the best option, but Paradisus is owned by Malia, and right next door was the Malia Caribe. And I could see from my room, they had inflatables in the water. I know they have a water park, so that one might be a better option. I think it does cost a little bit more, but they have a lot more activities for kids. But I do think it's a great option for adults looking for a tranquil environment where they just want to sit at the pool and the beach all day, and they really don't care about the greatest food. They just want some good drinks and a very relaxing vacation. Now, I wouldn't pay $500 a night necessarily for this resort, but again, you can get some amazing deals on Expedia where you're only paying like $300 or $400 a night. And listen, there are definitely better adults-only all-inclusive resorts in Punta Cana because I've done several reviews of them on my YouTube channel, but you are definitely going to be paying a lot more per night. Or you're going to have to stay outside Punta Cana like the Uvera Alto region, which has more of the brown sand. I don't like the beaches there as much. But another reason I would come back to this resort, and I've mentioned this a few times now, is just the overall vibe and energy here, not just from the staff, but even the people vacationing there. We met so many fun people, even people who had already subscribe to my channel. And I definitely think it's worth it to upgrade to the reserve side, especially if this is an adults vacation, because you get access to the adults only restaurant and reserve lounge. Also, all of the pools, you get the concierge service, a special section on the beach, and of course the upgraded liquor. And I think that free yoga excursion is worth the upgrade alone because you don't have to go off the resort and meet a tour company. They pick you up right there on the beach. It's only 3 hours long, yet you really feel like you're exploring and getting off the resort. And of course, I always love hearing from you as well. If you've been to this resort and can give any extra feedback, or if you have any other questions, just drop those in the comment section below. And I will be reviewing that other resort. I'm not going to mention its name. So once that's completed, I will also add the link in the description. I do hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe and keep following me at 3 Days and Tres Noches, where I bring you honest reviews and travel tips and show you can have an amazing vacation in a really short amount of time. And in fact, I'm headed back to Cancun in a few weeks to bring you 2 more reviews. And you can also find me on Instagram and TikTok.